Hey, Sarah, how are you?
I am sleepy, if you can't tell.
It's been an interesting couple of months for us. We have moved across country, and we're not entirely settled yet,
No,
but we will be soon.
but we are grateful to be here nonetheless.
That's right. We are
Transition here.
in some borrowed space here as a makeshift studio, and the reason why we're doing this recording today is because I've been approached by a whole lot of people, very interesting people all across the world, who would like to appear on our podcast for whatever reason.
I don't know, but it's been interesting and fun.
It has. And today's guest is in Israel, which
cool.
I hopefully she's okay because there's a whole lot of stuff going on in Israel at the moment right now. But she's a very interesting person. In her bio, she said to me, she's like, she lists, here's bullet points. She's Harvard educated, written like 40 books. One thing that I thought was particularly interesting, because this is my obsession currently, is she's lost like a ton of body weight. And so I wanted to talk to her on multiple levels. So all the way from Israel, let's give it up for Bracha Goetz.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Booze, women, and booze. I'm here, I'm there,
I'm in Beitar, which is 20 minutes from Jerusalem.
Okay.
Obviously you're in a safe spot.
If a siren goes off, I'm disappearing, but hopefully that won't happen. In fact, last week, I was in a class where we were learning Hebrew. I'm just learning Hebrew. And the teacher, all of a sudden, he goes, oh, siren, bye. And there were 200 of us in the class, and we're just like, I wasn't hearing the siren. He was in Tel Aviv. So all of a sudden, he was gone. That was
I can only imagine. It's like a daily thing out there, practically.
In different places, if you live up north or in the south, it depends where you are.
I'm detecting a not an Israeli accent from you.
Yes.
You're not an Israeli. You're from New York?
Yes, you got it. I spent the first 18 years of my life in New York. Yeah.
What are you doing out there in Israel?
Well, my husband and I have retired, and we've come back here. This is where we first met. This is where we got married. This is where we started our life, and together. And now that our children are grown and they have their own families, we've come back to live here.
That's awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So you're permanent residents then?
We're becoming permanent residents. We haven't sold our house in America yet, but we're in transition. Yeah.
Wow, that's really exciting. And you did pick a good time in history to move to Israel, apparently.
Oh, yeah. This is my first war ever. I was never in a war zone.
That is such a strange statement to make. This is my first war ever.
You just read about it, but you never experience it. I last year, October 7th, I woke up and I didn't know what I was hearing, because I've never experienced real air sirens before, and then it just kept going, and I had no idea what was happening. So eventually I thought a car was being, broken into, and the alarm just didn't go off. I couldn't, in my consciousness, I wasn't getting what was happening for quite a while. Yeah.
We moved to North Carolina in October. And so right before presidential election, now I remember I felt it felt interesting to be here. Nothing like being in a war zone, but I've never lived in a swing state before.
Right.
And so, and it was almost every day the alarms were going off, there's a candidate in town,
Wow.
Like almost every week, one of the candidates or one of their,
not that had in
mates
any way is similar to being in a war zone, but it just made me think that, as you were talking about,
Right.
I've never lived in a war zone. I've never lived in a swing state before.
Yes.
Election,
Yes. I don't think I've ever done that either.
I remember when I was in college, 9/11 happened, and I was dating a guy at the time who was Colombian. and he couldn't fathom what the big deal was.
Right.
What is
Right.
the big deal? Why? What's the big deal? So what? Somebody, did some terrorism. Because where he lived, it
Right.
was pretty common. Bombs
Right.
went off all the time, all these kind of
Wow.
things. And when I
Wow.
explained, like, this is the kind of like the first time anything like this has ever happened before, it took a while. And then his family was
Yes.
like, oh, wow, I can't imagine living in a
Wow.
place where, and all of a sudden your reality of safety is just shattered.
Right.
The other
Right.
end of the, yeah,
Fascinating.
yeah,
Wow.
all these different perspectives. And that's why we travel
Yes.
and live in different places, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how
Yes.
long have you been out there?
Well, again, we came back here in September this time, and we're planning to go back. We'll be back in America in April, hopefully. You never know from day to day, but that's
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
our plans are.
Before moving to Israel, you had this career, which I summarized. But why don't you give us your own personal summary?
Oh, well, I'm still writing books. I mean, I'm retired from what I used to do professionally, but I mean, I hope to write books the rest of my life. Yeah, that just keeps on coming, God willing. So, yeah, I've written 43 books, but they're books that help souls to shine. That's what they all have in common. So, like my background, you said I went to Harvard. When I was even an undergraduate at Harvard, I was taking courses at the Graduate School of Public Health and Harvard Medical School. So I always love health. I always love that. So even my spiritual books are also about health, like Let's Stay Healthy. This was written during the pandemic when parents were asking for books for children that explain why is it important to exercise, why is it important to eat healthy, why is it important to get good sleep, because nobody was doing those things during the pandemic. Everything was haywire, so people were really reaching out for help. And I love explaining in a public health way how to keep our bodies healthy. And to me, that is spiritual too, because when our bodies are healthy, our souls can shine more fully. So every one of my books, whether the focus is spiritual or about being healthy or safe, a lot of my books are about books about the prevention of abuse, books about swimming safely. All these things, that's what they have in common. Helping souls to shine as fully as possible by teaching young children skills to be really successful in life from as early in life as possible.
That's awesome. Well, I
Yeah.
work in pediatrics, so of course we have a young daughter, and we dealt with the pandemic too in our own way, in teaching her and figuring out, well, how we can to make sure she gets the amount of exercise and play that children need at a young age of 2 and 3. And all parents were navigating that time and how to explain things in a way that was not scary. And so that's
Yes.
awesome. Appreciative. And of course, a lot of us realized that we needed to become healthy during that time in order to survive, literally.
Yes,
And
exactly.
now too, there's of course this initiative that's happening in the US about getting rid of poisons in our foods and things like that. So I bet your books will become even more relevant.
That's true.
Yes. It's we had tons of knowledge, but not what missing wisdom. That's what we missing in life. The wisdom. We're flooded with information now, which is great, but we need more wisdom. How to choose in life, how to choose happiness. How can you live a happy life? What are the skills? So I'm teaching gratitude skills to children. Like every one of my books, whether it's in a subtle way or an obvious way, is instilling gratitude in children. Like one of my missions is eliminating the entitlement epidemic. We tend to take things for granted,
Right.
but we can teach children from the beginning of life how to be grateful Then they don't have to play catch up like the rest of us. We learn that later on in life. You can learn that from the beginning of life, and your life has much less pain in it, much less unnecessary pain if you learn gratitude skills early on in life.
That's awesome. We've been doing gratitude with our daughter ever since she was quite little, before bed every night. And
Beautiful.
not surprisingly, because of the way we've raised her, she's very resilient. And this change, of course, we thought it would be more tough than it has been on her.
Right.
We just moved to Texas, and she was an extremely popular child with lots of friends. And
Wow.
it might be hard when you first move to a new city, and it'll take a while. And she's, oh, Mom, and she was so optimistic. I know I'll meet new friends, and we'll be close to Grandpa and Grandma, and I'm not worried about anything. And she's just been awesome. I mean, day one, even her teacher in our little parent conference said, oh yeah, she's already, helping me and meeting friends, and she hasn't had any complaints. She hasn't had any negativity at all. And she's just been super resilient and happy and about everything.
It's amazing how far a little gratitude will go. How do you recommend teaching gratitude to children?
One of my newest books is called Don't Read This Book. All day long. This is written in the voice of the inner critic. We all have a voice inside of our heads telling us to be miserable all day long. And once we become aware of it, we realize it's not just me. This is in all of us. We all have that voice. How does it get us to be miserable? This tells you the secrets. It's letting children know from the beginning of life what is going on. All day long, you have a voice inside of you telling you, I'm missing this. You're lacking that. Oh, I'll just be happy if I had this. That's what the voice is telling you all day long. Once we recognize that, oh my gosh, we can why am I feeling so miserable right now? Oh my goodness, it's you. It's that voice inside me telling me that I'm missing this. I'm going to push it off, and I'm going to be grateful for all that I have right now. I have so much to be grateful for. And then you do what you do, like at night, and before you go to bed at night, you think of the things you're grateful for. You can do this all day long. Whenever you get that feeling, and we get it from morning till night, there's that little voice. And why is that voice inside of us? This book took me 30 years to write because I didn't have the wisdom. I had the name of the book, I had most of the book, but I didn't have the surprise ending, which is that inner critic. It's in all of us for our own good also. Believe it or not, this is what I didn't understand. It's like this. It's like this barbell that we're pushing it off. And that's how we grow our gratitude muscles. Pushing it off. I'm not going to be miserable. Now I get it. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be grateful. There's so many things I could be grateful for. Why should I be miserable? And as we grow these muscles, it gets easier and easier. Really, the brain is like a muscle. So the more neural pathways we create, these are gratitude pathways. That's what you've done for your daughter. She now can be grateful so much more easily than most people. She's got those pathways already. When you first go down, you travel on a road that nobody's driven on in a car. It's so gravelly and it feels awkward and weird. But once you have the grooves in, it's easier and easier to go. And that's how it is with gratitude. It feels weird at first. The more we practice it, we develop grateful brains. That's how it works.
How long is that book?
How many pages? Let's see.
Yeah.
38 pages. Yeah.
It doesn't look super dense either from the few pages you slipped through. It wasn't
30 years it took you to write 38 pages. You must write very slowly.
Yeah, very slowly. I'm telling you, I went back to the book again and again through the years because I said something is missing. There's something kind of creepy about this book, and it's got to have a positive ending, but I don't know what it is until I had the life wisdom to understand. And also, some things are just not revealed to you as you
Mhm.
go through your life till the right time. It was finally the right time, and I understood that that voice, it was like too creepy. And then I got it. Wait a minute, it's not creepy. It's not evil. We all have this in us. It's there to make us into better people. That's the
Mhm.
amazing realization. All of us have that. And so everyone think and it, and it gets, you see in the book that it goes into different disguises. It goes into different disguises for each person. It knows where your weaknesses are. It knows just how to make you miserable. And once you figure it out, it goes into a different disguise. It's always got new ideas, but it's just to make you into a better person. All these challenges, everything that happens to us, really.
My own publication history, not as extensive as 43 books, but I talk a lot about the exact same themes. I talk about happiness. I talk about your inner dialogue that you have. I talk about all
And
of that.
you say in your seminars all the time, people ask questions, and you say, optimistic and happy people have negative thoughts all the time.
That's
Just because they
right.
don't listen to them too
Yeah,
long,
they
they
don't dwell
turn
on
them
them.
off and they take them in different directions. And
No. My inner
Excellent.
voice has a really creepy waxed mustache. He's always telling me, yeah, no. He's a little villain. He's always trying to put Sarah on railroad tracks, and I have to come along and rescue her. Wait, is that inner voice or is that fantasy stuff? I'm not sure. But these sound like wonderful books, because one of the things that I have one of the most common things that I encounter in my career is people ask me, how do I instill these sort of ideas, these concepts? How do I give them, communicate them to children? And that is really a concern that I get asked a lot. I have my own way of communicating to children, or a child in particular.
Yes.
But it's nice that you're creating these materials for use with other children. So, what prompted the children's books series?
Well, I'm still a kid. I just am. I identify as a 6-year-old boy. I know. So that's it. Most of my books, you'll see there's this boy as the main character. He's 6 years old. This is just how it goes. I can't explain it. I've always been identifying when I'd be in a play in school, in elementary school. I want the part as the 6-year-old boy. That's how it went. So I still have that kind of a head. I see things through a childlike mind with curiosity and wonder. The world is a wondrous place to me still. So it's my natural voice to be inside of a child's head. Yeah, and also I wanted to write the books that I wished I had as a child, because I didn't grow up thinking in spiritual terms. Like, I didn't know I was a soul. So I didn't know what was missing. And that gets to the part about the eating. So there was always something missing. I didn't know what it was. I was searching and searching for years, never finding fulfillment. And, when you stuff your face, you keep stuffing your face because you get momentary pleasure. So you might as well just keep going. Like, the hard part is stopping. The eating isn't the problem. It's stopping the eating that's hard, because you don't want the pleasure to end. You want lasting pleasure in life. So until I found out that hole never can get filled by externalities, whatever the addiction is, whether it's gambling or shopping or food or drinking or drugs, it just brings temporary pleasure. And when it's gone, you are more miserable. You're emptier than you were before. When the whole container of ice cream is done, you're emptier than that container. So what I finally found was that it's a spiritual hole. and the only thing that fills it is gratitude. When we learn how to be grateful, then we are filled up physically and spiritually. Then when we eat like healthy foods, like an orange, I love the example of an orange because it's just an amazing thing. You know how the fruit are all green, they're all hidden in the leaves until they're ripe and they're ready. And when they become the most vivid and beautiful color, that's when they're ripe and ready for us. They're ready. I'm ready. That's how they call to us. So like, and then they're beautiful to look at. They smell beautiful. And then when we take off the individual wrapping, we get to experience the sweet juiciness which is kept in for months just for us. Whoever gets to eat the orange, it's made for you. And then at the end we're left with the seeds, which can become infinite more trees, infinite more orange trees, infinite more oranges. This is just showing one tiny thing in life, how it is so packed with loving kindness and infinite intelligence for us. We are being loved up by these kind of things every single day. All these kind of natural foods that are designed for our pleasure. So when we experience them with gratitude, it fills us both physically, it nourishes us physically and spiritually. Yeah.
You are making me hungry. Tell me about weight loss. So you said you had your own weight loss journey. Yeah, my recent book was actually all about weight loss and not just about losing weight, because that's, sort of like a, hey, look at me, I lost some weight. But I don't want to toot my own horn, but it's all about the difficulties and why it's so hard for us to lose weight. And you've had your own battle and accomplishments. Tell us a little bit about that.
So
Did you visit let me just guess. It was, you ate nothing but oranges.
that's the new thing. No. So like I was fluctuating between binge eating, like completely out of control binges, and then restrictive dieting. So it was horrible. I call it a prison. It took over my whole life. Eating in this way that had nothing to do with being hungry. And it was, but I feel there's a spiritual reason for the whole thing. That what I just explained is that if you don't feel fulfillment, if you don't feel filled up in life, then that's why you have these addictions. Because no matter what addiction you choose, and food is a really common one because it gives us such easy pleasure right away. But the natural foods were meant to give us pleasure in such a good way, because they also nourish our bodies. While like junk food, actually it's meant for just greed. It's not really food. It doesn't help our bodies to function.
I think the word junk implies a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
Yeah, it's not even food. It's like food-like substances, because this is real food. Like this is designed to be good for us, and even like if you take like an orange flavored tangy taffy, even the wrapper pollutes the environment, while this wrapper even helps the environment. It's like it's a totally different kind of thing. With this is made with loving kindness, and that's just made with greed to get us to become addicted and not to help our bodies. So it's a whole different type of thing when we realize we could. So the natural pleasures, all the natural physical pleasures, the healthy food, spending time in nature, movement, exercise, dancing, yoga, gardening, swimming, running, music, all these natural pleasures were designed for us to experience physical pleasure with all our senses and to experience them with gratitude. And that is just the lowest level of pleasure. Actually, I have this thing called the pleasure ladder. You could find it on my website. You could download it for free and put it on your fridge or your cabinet. And it's called the pleasure ladder because it's based on ancient mystical wisdom about how we can fill up on lasting pleasure, because every rung on the ladder, you on my website, I go into all the details about each level, but you feel, in order to climb any rung on the pleasure ladder, there's only one price to pay, and that's gratitude. That is what fills us up.
I'm
That's what
glad.
changes us.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad you didn't say it was like $10,000 or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Gratitude I
Exactly.
could do. 10 grand. I mean, it's been an expensive month.
Yes, yes. So that's it. And I want to know how that is what changed my life, because now I no longer, let's say I feel like overeating. I say to myself, oh, if I have 97 more spoonfuls of this ice cream, will I then feel full? I know I won't, because it's not a physical hunger. It's a spiritual hunger. I just need to feel more grateful in my life. And then I could think about the abundance of ways that I could bring gratitude into my life right this moment. I could go outside, experience a breeze, experience the sunshine, eat something healthier. I could, on the next level, focus on the virtues of another person. That's love. I could do something good and meaningful. I could volunteer and help someone immediately get filled up. I could do something creative. The moment you're in the creative zone, you don't feel like eating or sleeping. You are beyond time. It's an amazing thing. And the highest level is called transcendence. It's because when we're in addiction, we feel disconnected, cut off, lonely, miserable, self-centered. Transcendence is it's each level up brings more connection and bring more lasting pleasure. As we when It's when the differences between us transcend and we realize we're all connected. This energy is flowing all around us, all between us, back and forth. We're never alone. And we open up to that really infinite source of love, and the loneliness ends. And gratitude is what we become filled with. So those are all the steps on the pleasure ladder.
The platitudes of gratitude.
So basically, it wasn't hard, and it isn't hard to stop addictions. It actually is an enjoyable process when you learn to fill up on gratitude, replacing the addictions.
Have you always been such a positive, health-focused individual? And if not, you don't have to describe like, I was a filthy degenerate, but was there a turning point that led to this?
Okay, that's the only book I wrote for adults is Nourish the Soul, filling the emptiness within. For years, I felt empty. So, I mean, there I was at Harvard looking successful, but I was getting more and more miserable. And by the time I went on to medical school, I was studying to be a psychiatrist. By the time I got to medical school, I was in the lowest place possible. You would never know. You'd think, this is success. Success is an inside job. You've heard that, Wayne Dyer. Because without that fulfillment, it was the same world, but you look at it through glasses of gratitude and it's all changed. So I learned not to take things for granted and to value the simple things in life. Everything changed. So yeah, I spent years being really miserable. And as I described, an addiction is a prison where the walls get narrower and narrower as you get deeper into your addiction. And the interesting thing is that you have the key to unlock the door. It's the only prison where the lock is on the inside, but you don't know it. Until you find it, you can't get out. So
it's very hard. I find it very hard to communicate that to people because they get locked into their emotions,
yes,
whether it's anxiety or depression or whatever
yes,
it is. They have a hard, yeah, oh, you just want me to think differently. How do I do that?
yes, yes.
It's really tough because you get hard. It's hard for you to see outside of that mindset.
You start with an orange. You start with the littlest things that you've been taking for granted, just like you're teaching your daughter now. And we can start at any age. Our brains have neuroplasticity. We can always change them. We can always, when the neurons fire together, they wire together. This is the simple way to actually change your happiness set point. They have discovered if a person wins the lottery, $1 million lottery, 6 months after winning, they're back to the same level of happiness they had before. If, God forbid, someone gets paralyzed, they are back to the same level of happiness they had 6 months before that happened. But what can actually change your happiness level? Practicing gratitude. 6 months after people begin practicing gratitude, they have changed. They've become actually happier human beings.
What I do is I challenge people to take the gratitude challenge, the daily gratitude challenge, for at least a week. And if they notice a difference at the end of that week, maybe they want to continue.
Beautiful.
And most people, a week is enough. They start to see some real change.
Beautiful.
It's such a simple way to manipulate your own thought structures. But
yes.
What a lot of people don't realize is that the vast majority of the suffering that we deal with is related to how we think.
Yes.
And so, to reprogram that in a more positive way, I think is extremely beneficial. And the message is sometimes lost because it comes from people like me and you who say, "Hey, I know you're struggling, but be positive." Write down some things that you're grateful for every once in a while. It's that doesn't sound like it's going to help. Like, oh man, I'm suffering, man. You telling me I got to just write down keep a journal? Give me some pills, give me some drugs. I'm suffering.
Yes. Yes.
But it does work. It's true. It's the long game. It's not a short-term recovery. It's a long game. Exactly.
And everyone knows that these other things haven't worked. We all know that the bag of potato chips never lasts long enough. We've been there. We know it.
So good.
Just while you're eating it. Yeah, exactly. The perfect example of what you described. Imagine this man on top of a building. He's ready to jump. And this lady sees him across the way and she goes, "Don't jump, whatever you do." And he goes, "Why not?" And she says, "Well, what if you were blind your whole life and now you were just given the gift of sight? Would you still jump?" And he goes, "No, of course not." He goes, "Well, you were blind. Here's the gift of sight. Look, you got up to this building. You got up to the top of the building. You have legs, you have arms, you have eyes, you have ears, you're breathing. You have so much to be grateful for. Of course, you have tons of problems in your life. I get that, but you still have so many gifts. Open your eyes and see that." And that's all of us. We are all blind in so many ways. There's so much we're not grateful for that we could be grateful for. There's an abundance of gifts in every one of our lives.
What are you grateful for today?
I am grateful for a good night of rest.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful for this conversation.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm grateful for that coffee I just drank. I'm actually very grateful for this conversation as well. And to Sarah's point on the rest. Bracha, you know, of course, that we rescheduled. Nobody listening knows. We were originally scheduled to do this interview a week ago, and then I had to reschedule because I've been sick. With a severe cough and just awful, you know, and that's I've still been coughing. Like I almost had to postpone again because I'm still coughing a lot. But last night was the first night I was able to sleep through the night without waking up in the middle of the night coughing. So
Wonderful.
yeah, I am grateful for that. Although I feel I feel a cough coming, so I'm gonna have to mute my mic again. Say something.
Okay, I'll tell you this.
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for my wonderful husband. Really, really grateful that he loves when I do these podcasts. I always come out more grateful afterwards, you know.
So I did seminars on happiness and how to be happy. And I used to always say, and this was no joke, no exaggeration, no lie. Every single day I gave the happiness seminar, I would leave happier than when I came in.
Yes.
You know, it's just something about it. Something about talking about it generates it. You know, and
that's it. When we do good and meaningful things, it gets our souls to shine, helping other souls to shine. That's just how it works, you know? It fills us with gratitude to make others more grateful people. And yeah, I mean, it just the energy just keeps flowing. We're just channeling it. And it takes away the ego. The more gratitude we have in our lives, we're not afraid of failing. We're not worried about our ego. We're not worried about these things anymore because we're just part of the flow. We're just channeling the wonderful energy. Yeah. That's what happens. It really changes you as a person. Thank God.
I am very grateful for this podcast. Thank you so much, Bracha, for joining us today and dealing with our reschedule that we had to do a couple of weeks in a row. I also am really grateful that you came prepared with visual aids. You notice that
she's whipping things out, like
you got everything.
Pump it up.
I kind of want to challenge her and see if she's got something else that she could grab.
One more thing. One more to grab. Ready? Okay, here we go. Let's see if it works. Oh my gosh, doesn't always work. Oh no, this is not working. Okay, it's supposed to light up. This flashlight doesn't always work. It's got a mind of its own.
Oh, there it went.
Okay, the point is picture it shining, okay? Our souls are always shining. What happens when we go through stuff, like we go through trauma, we go through abuse, neglect, whatever we've been through, it puts a covering over it. So we don't even feel that it's shining anymore. You know, we don't sense it. The thing to do is to keep nourishing your soul through more and more gratitude. And sometimes you need help, therapeutic help, in order to help remove the layers that we put on top, which is also addictions or any other coping mechanism that's not serving us anymore. And then you'll notice that you're still shining. It's always there. We are ever resilient. We really are. We really are always resilient. It's always like an eternal light inside of us, like your daughter, who is so resilient, no matter where you're putting her, because you gave her so much gratitude skills from the beginning of life. So it's very special to have that. So you're wonderful parents, and I'm really happy to meet you. Because it's just great to meet other people that are doing this exciting work in the world. This is really our whole purpose in life. To be here is to be grateful. That's really our whole job.
Bracha is very good, very enjoyable podcast. I love learning about you and your work, and you have an extremely infectious, positive spirit.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully that conveys through the through this medium, and our audience will pick up on some of that. How can people find out about you and perhaps maybe even purchase some of your books?
Growing Impact Publications. And they love when you visit the website. And I tell people, you don't have to buy the books. You can get your library to order them. And that also spreads the messages far and wide. Get the public library ordering more books, and we spread these messages all over the world.
Thanks again.
Thank
And thank you, Sarah, for sitting
Thank
in as
you.
my co-host. And folks, those of you who are listening, watching, however you're consuming this media, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been another episode of On the Road with Dr. Brian. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Blues, women, and booze. I'm